Welcome back. We continue with our special coverage of the party primaries right here on Power Breakfast. In studio, we do have Agnes Zani, Secretary General ODM, and we continue with an update of what is happening in ODM strongholds. But before that, let's take this news update from Narok County, where last night there was chaos at one of the polling stations there, where Jubilee Party was carrying out its party primaries. Let's see.
Lakini kufikia masaa ya saa 1:30 saa hii usiku, ikiwa mahali yote ilikuwa inapigiwa kura hapa Masiko ndio imefungwa, watu walikuwa ndani wakihesabu. Kuna kijana mmoja ambaye amekuja, alikuwa na petroli. Mimi nimestukia tu, amegonga karibu na mguu yangu kabisa kwa dirisha mahali nilikuwa, na moto ikalipuka. Nimesikia tu watu wakisema, hiyo kijana akisema kwamba sisi tumeanza kuharibu, na hapo watu wakaanza kupiga nduru. Maaskari wakatoka, wale walikuwa kwa marume ndani wakiangalia karatasi zikihesabiwa za kura, wakaweza kutusaidia hapo, hata tukakimbisha hiyo kijana mpaka hata askari moja akatupa risasi juu, na watu wakapotea kabisa. Hiyo vijana ambayo walikuwa ni kikundi ya around watu 10.
All right, there you have it. That happened last night at one of the polling stations in Narok County, where Jubilee Party was carrying out its party primaries. And someone threw a petrol bomb into the tallying center. That polling station was called Masikonde Primary School polling station. Unfortunate incidents there, because we've seen some level of violence, and some aspirants seem to believe that at party primaries, the more violent you are, the more likely for you to get the tickets. Why is that?
I think the stakes are very high. I think people feel, and especially in various regions where we know that this primary is actually the main election, once you're in, then you're likely to come back. And I think people are taking it upon themselves that I have my particular supporter, or I'm supporting a particular candidate, a particular aspirant, this person is the person to go in, no matter what. But I think one thing that is very key and very important is to emphasize that by the time in a primary that you've reached a level where you're actually doing the counting, it's such a critical point, and so much has gone in terms of time, in terms of resources, in terms of the money, and you've done it so that you can get a particular result. And when you have a situation like this where somebody decides, for whatever reason, maybe even they could be mistaken, maybe they'd feel that their popular candidate is losing, but maybe that person is winning, but they take it upon themselves to do such a thing. It means you've taken everything backwards. But I think also this sort of incident also shows that this is prone across the political divide, because I think for a long time when we've had such incidences, for example, from the ODM faction, people have said, oh, this is why there's so much violence, this violence seems to be on one side. I think Jubilee has used that a lot, many times, to say that these people are very violent, these people are very chaotic, etc. But we can see very clearly that chaos, and we're not, we condone it in the highest terms from whichever direction it takes place. It should not happen in the first place, but I think it shows that it's prone to happen across the particular divide, and that what needs to be put into place is a sort of security features we've seen in that place. You can imagine what would have happened if we didn't have that high level of security there. And this is what we are calling upon, that can we have this security redistributed and disaggregated across the board, so that this sort of control and visibility from our forces is very, very clear. Because I know there are many people who might want to do different things, but when they come and they see the face of security, they see people there, they see that the place has been well cordoned off, it becomes very difficult. I think also the other thing is to note and to be very, very particular that, for example, even when people are coming in, maybe some sort of searches, because this is some sort of a petrol bomb. You can imagine if it had actually completely exploded in a massive way, we'd have a very, very difficult situation on our ground. So I think it's unfortunate. I think over time, if we look at the history and the elaboration and progression of how we conduct our politics, people seem to feel that the violence pays off, and when they do such a thing, they think that, well, fine, the person I hoped would win has not won, and that is the end of the story. But I think what has happened is we could have very easily, because look at what happened even in the American politics, and look at what happened in terms of the way the police came to contain the people, because all these emotions will rise high, political temperatures will go up, but if there's a mechanism that controls and people cannot do what they want to do, they just stop from doing it, then it will cut down on this culture of violence.
Okay. Let's come back to ODM and its party primaries, and of course the initial plan was to wrap up everything today.
Yes.
And that's why you're carrying out some repeat nomination exercises in a number of constituencies, Nakuru Town West, Shinyalu, South Mugirango, Ibeno Ward in Nyaribari Chache. Those are 2 wards in Nyaribari Chache. Kitengela Ward. Mombasa has at least 17 police stations spread across 6 wards. Now these are just pockets that had issues, but initially I believe you're done with the bulk of the party primaries. Yes, we're done with the bulk of the party primaries.
We are at almost 75, if not 80% of the results that are out. We've had many people come into Orange House to hopefully pick their certificates, but we have also done things differently this time. Preliminarily, for example, we had people come in and picking their certificates immediately after. Now we're going through a stage of vetting and ensuring that whatever certificate is given out is conclusively given out. We're also having a situation where we're going to cascade the giving of the certificates, one in a staggered manner, as you saw the first time when we had this on the 3rd last month, and we were able
for
to...
the direct, they were the ones who got one...
You see, I'm happy you're making that mistake, because we need to be able to... And I don't know what really went wrong.
Unchallenged candidates, I've corrected myself.
Yes, I mean, they were getting those tickets because they were basically unchallenged. And we said, instead of camping all this together so that we're dealing with this, why don't we free them so that because really they have the certificate, so to speak. So we've had it, we've done it in a cascade cascaded manner.
Yes.
And in the second stage, we have, in the first stage, given those who are unopposed aspirants because they did not have anybody coming in, and then we are now moving to those who have actually won from the polling and organizing for these certificates to be given. These certificates are not going to be given at a national level. We're going to cascade it, and it's going to go to the counties. As you might know as well, we have also put into place structures within the party so that across the various counties and the constituencies, we have boards that can actually be in charge of the various processes. We have the CECs at the county level. These are the county boards, and then we have also the CEPs. So in the county, we have the county election committees, and then at the constituency, we have the constituency election panels that have members of the party. So we'll be able to coordinate so that these certificates can actually get to the people and then get to the people on the ground. So the areas that we're doing repeats are areas where there were issues here and there. And as I told you earlier, we're not going to go in to quickly just resolving and moving on. For
so there's still a possibility that even the ones that carried out their party primaries yesterday, there could be some areas that might require repeats. Exactly.
And for every primary that has been held, if there's any issue that is coming, any report that is coming, and there is a request to conduct these repeats, then we're going on to do that. If you realize that most of these are also coming as appeals, so we cannot have appeals before the exercise is done. So once we have an exercise done and we have appeals that have been lodged to the tribunal, then we make a decision and say these are areas.
So as it stands, the only county that is yet to conduct its party primaries as far as ODM is concerned is Nairobi.
Is Nairobi, because we had a program so that we were going to have the Nairobi yesterday, which was Tuesday, and today was a mop-up for all the counties that had not that still had pockets of polling stations, which is quite easy to do, because remember now you're going to specific polling stations and your level of a constituency or the level at the ward makes it very, very easy to conduct that. But now we have to be able to do all this mop-up, and this mop-up is going to happen today. But remember, we had also envisaged that if we had Nairobi, then we would have had also to do, in case there was a need to repeat, make the repeat.
Because the plan was, and today would have been the last day.
Today was going to be the last day.
Yes, whatever happened in Nairobi, we would still have had to contain it within today.
Yes, we would have had to contain it within today, but that would not have been difficult, because you see Nairobi is easier because we are right here. Any dispute that would have been coming out would have been quickly picked, and a repeat would have been done easily because the information would have come across.
Yet Jubilee Party is also conducting its Nairobi Party primaries today, so you would have been forced to do it yesterday.
No, yes, and let me tell you what happened, because I think, this was, I think, very commendable from IBC. What they did on Sunday is that they put all political leadership together. So we had at the Secretary General level and also at the chair of the NEBS sitting together, and then we realized as we were moving closer to the end of it, we had different programs that were not synchronized. And it was very important to ensure that, for example, we don't have three parties conducting their primaries within a particular region. And it turned out that ODM had already booked for the primaries for Nairobi on Tuesday, and we had Jubilee booking it.
So what if the deadline had not been extended?
I think if that deadline had not been extended, maybe decisions would have been made maybe in a different way, because really the situation we had, because at the end of it all, what is our far-fetched goal was to ensure that a lot of credibility is put, especially in all the elections and particularly also in the Nairobi polling. So we wanted to be sure that that happens in an environment that does not create any sort of acrimony or any situation of fear. If we had found ourselves in a situation where we had a situation coming up, probably maybe it would have gone much later into the night as we tried to solve it. But I think this was really unprecedented, because if there was a level of preparation that had been put into Nairobi, it was on complete high gear. Party registers had already been put into place. Ballot boxes, ballot papers were already in place waiting for this. We have had a warehouse where all this material has been put, which has been a safe house. But I think, again, as you would imagine, in politics, people want to find out what is happening, and people have a way that they feel that if we get to the ballot papers and we're able to take a few and we're able to tick and put, so that affects the credibility. So we had a situation where we had the material in the warehouse already out. Yes.
So now you've had to print new ballot papers.
We have had to reorganize ourselves and get back to a situation where we're going to put back and move into a polling situation with the credibility it deserves.
Are you certain that some of the ballot papers that were lost in that break-in will not make their way back.
They will not make their way back under the circumstances and the situation that we have taken to ensure that no such lack of credibility happens. And that's why it was important then to actually schedule, take one step back and look at the situation we were in and make decisions about how to proceed.
But was it really necessary to push it all the way to the very last day? Because we're seeing it's the same situation as Jubilee, carrying out its Nairobi party primaries on the very last day. That means any dispute arising, there's no possibility of a repeat.
Yes.
Is it strategic?
I think we looked at the schedule and looked at what we have to do on Wednesday, probably finish these mop-ups. But you remember also, we're looking at the level of readjustment that needs to be done. You know, this is a situation where for the last 1 week, for the last 2 weeks when we started with the primaries, a situation is already in place. So obviously I don't think it's a situation that can just be undone like that.
Yes.
Like, you know, just in a day.
Don't you think it would be necessary to give yourself room for repeat polls in a few polling stations in case something doesn't go right? After all, you've seen that in many counties things are not going right.
I think this consideration is probably going to come into interplay because now with the court ruling, I think that is coming up. I think there's a court ruling that has been adjusted again, which I have seen, so that because Atwoli has actually gone to court and said that the fast is a holiday, and therefore we should not infringe or go beyond that. But that means we're still the same players. We are still today on Wednesday.
So you're saying there's a possibility that the Nairobi polls for ODM could be
what I'm saying is that we are working on a step by step. We're looking at the circumstances we're in. We're looking at the situation we're in. We've already given that word. We'll try as much as possible to keep it to that. But we are going to be cognizant because we don't exist in a lacuna or in a utopian situation. We exist within circumstances that keep changing. And the moment that we are sure that we can be able to move and conduct, because for us I think it's about the freeness and fairness. For Nairobi we need to have a sense that the people who actually finally get in, and you can see that the threshold is very high, and you can see that even for people to feel let us go and try to make some sort of influence, it means that there are certain indicators that are very, very key, and that's what we're controlling them. But so I think, Fred, it's important in all these processes to look at the underlying objectivity of a particular scenario and why it's moving in a particular direction.
Okay. So you've seen some of the results that are coming in from Jubilee side, and we can see already 2 women from the Jubilee party already have been given the party ticket to run for governor's race. We're talking about Joyce Laboso in Bomet and Anne Waiguru in Kirinyaga. Incidentally, there's no single woman in ODM who's vying for that top county job. Why is that?
Well, I think it's the women now to explain to us as time goes by. I think this really takes us back to the drawing board and begin to assess and ask women generally, you know, why wasn't interest shown in this particular set? Maybe it's about the timing. I don't know. I think also look at also the trajectory that has taken place in terms of the leadership that has come in from Jubilee. If you're looking at, for example, at Madam Waiguru, she was already at the level of a CS, for example, by the time she's making this decision. Look at the level of Laboso, she was already at the level of a deputy speaker. And
are you saying that in ODM there are no high-ranking women?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that the dynamics that could have played out in such a way that they felt that let us move into it in this specific manner. And I think this is still something that we need to go back to the drawing boards and look at actually the decision and the hierarchy, because if you look at the statistics in terms of the women and the representation, again you find many of them have stuck to the MCA level. Very few have actually gone for the senator. Very far few have gone to the governor. And I'm saying this is an emerging pattern that we need, again, probably as gender experts, to go back to the drawing board.
Does it concern you that ODM does not have any woman running for governor?
I think it should have been nice to have women running across the board. Women need to come and explain to us probably what their mitigating circumstances were, and then we work on these mitigating circumstances. I know for many organizations, many have indicated, for example, that they wanted to hold the hand of the person who is going to go for senator, of the person who is going to go for the women rep. But I think also there are certain, you know, in the rational choice theory, people look at their costs and benefits. Maybe women feel like, you know, maybe if I go for this specific one, I am likely to win and not that one. Maybe that one will come later. And these are the sort of dynamics we need to look at and have the light bulbs.
Because I'm assuming in ODM it's a big party. It's one of the biggest party in Parliament right now.
Yes,
now,
it is.
For a party which is the biggest in Parliament, and no single woman is aspiring to be on the party ticket to run for governor. That's an issue in this era when you're trying to achieve the 2/3 gender rule.
Yeah, and I think women looked at these dynamics, and probably as they went along, they looked at where their rationality took them in terms of what they felt was going to actually happen. I think this also is a good thing, because I think you know that when people are breaking the glass ceiling that we're always talking about, it starts with stages. And I think moving, because I think also there's a way in which people look at the threshold and look at what it means to have that particular threshold.
Could it just be that women in Jubilee are probably more accommodated than in ODM, that they feel able to actually vie for higher positions?
If they didn't feel if they didn't feel accommodated in ODM, they wouldn't vie at all. The fact that we have many who are still vying and many who are bright lights and many who have come, we've seen some of them who have actually won a specific position within the party.
Is there a woman who has received a party certificate already, and it's not for a woman representative seat?
We need to look at that. I think we have Millie now, who is coming up. I think she's already, Millie Odambo is coming up. We need, and this exercise is not complete. We'll go back again and make that analysis and see what could be playing up, and really just again begin to nurture and encourage. I think also what is happening within the women constituency, and you've rightly said, within the no more than 2/3 rule that we hoped would be implemented to catapult. Maybe also there was a sense of feeling that this would happen, and that lack of preparation to quickly readjust and look at, for example, parliaments like the Swedish parliament, where out of about 200 members, about 100 are women, and these have been elected. Fred, you must appreciate that this sort of social cultural change doesn't take place overnight. So we need to have, again, it's a step by step, and I think this is a beginning of a new dawn where women can feel, let us go into this, let us push into this, it is possible. But definitely we've also, I think, made an uphill task, and a successful one for that, because I think if you look at the dynamics of the 2013 in terms of the positioning for the governor and for the senatorial seats, and especially women participation, it was much lower. And we know also that statistically there's a direct correlation between the number of people who actually go for a seat and those who actually get it. So the more the women who vie, the more who will actually get those positions.
In terms of perception then, therefore will ODM not be seen as suppressing the ambitions of women?
I don't think,
because not even a single aspirant is...
So that's what I'm saying, and I'm sure this then begins to bring the light in today that it's possible to run for this. You know, Fred, you can't go and actually say to people that, you know, come on and, you know, this is it and move in this direction. But I'm saying, because I think many people still came from the 2013 sort of situation where they thought, is it really possible? Can women really get the seats? We're having a situation where we're seeing people going for them. And I think in the next election, we're going to have probably 20% representation going
on this one, you agree that Jubilee has led the way?
On this one, I'm saying we need to go back and make an understanding of what has happened.
You are a senior ranking member of the party. Probably you should have gone for a bigger position.
We have to go back into the drawing boards. We have to look at the circumstances, Fred. Things happen within a circumstantial format. It just doesn't happen in terms of statistics. Take this so many, how many. There could be something that is playing up, and we need to be able to looking into the future. Probably what we should now be able to really do is go back and pinpoint and headhunt for these very strong women. We have, for example, at in ODM, we have a particular coordinating unit that is coordinating women. We want this to be a long-term thing and not just something that is happening on a daily basis, so that we actually get these women who will be able to be cushioned and trained and prepared and encouraged.
So you agree that ODM has done little in as far as encouraging women to vie for these big jobs?
I don't think it should have done little if we even have a coordinating unit specifically for that. I think it is steps that are being made. Definitely we're waking up to a new dawn where society is also adjusting itself to the possibility of women are taking up the highest position. You remember very well that even in the presidential race, we've had very few women participating in the presidential race. So I think as we move on slowly through that sort of socialization, through role modeling, through people looking up and thinking, so-and-so has been able to make it, we're going to have a younger generation. And I think now we're targeting and looking at the younger women who are coming up and probably looking at the dynamics that they're interested in. Looking at all these youth leagues that exist and looking at all these women leagues that exist, so that we can begin to catapult this specific type of woman who can actually really come up and be able to...
We saw a few months back there was talk that Ruth Odinga would vie for governor.
Yes.
Then she pulled out of that race.
Yes, she did.
Why is that? Because surely having enough women and for her position, she must have, she's a very high-ranking member of the county government, the current county government, and of the party.
Exactly.
Why would such an aspirant pull out of such a race?
I think she must have looked at the dynamics, she must have looked at the situation, and then she must have thought, well, maybe not for now, maybe I can plan for the future and move on with the future. I think people, as I say, very clearly, when you look at the rational choice theory, people look at both ends and actually move on to make a decision. But I think even that step that she made in showing the interest is really the beginning of a seed. And I think that seed grows. You know, look at what has happened, for example, in the American politics, where we had Hillary Clinton running for presidency. One, many more people will be interested, but two, also look at the dynamics of how it played out. It means we have to bring up again another generation of women who will be able to take it to that level, reach there, probably not be able to attain the goal, but still be able to push at a different level. You must appreciate, Fred, when you look at the dynamics of women and men, it's very, very different in terms of how they perceive issues, in terms of how they are socialized into issues, in terms of the sort of stereotypes that have been put in there, and the sort of exposure also that it gives these women. So this is a whole discourse, and it's a big discourse, Fred, and it's a big discourse that you cannot...
Let's now take another break. When we return, Agnes Zani, the ODM Secretary General, will be telling us if the date 27th of April 2017 is still a big one for us, or for NASA for that matter. That when we return.